Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, December 26th, as we look outside this morning in America, courtesy of EarthCam. We're waking up Cincinnati, Ohio, Hickory, North Carolina, Dallas, Texas, and Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Nick Smith. I'm hoping you had a great Christmas and wishing that you have a great weekend ahead. There were a number of breaking news and developing stories overnight, so let's jump right in. We start with new details about U.S. airstrikes against ISIS in Nigeria, what we know about who was targeted and the damage that was done. Plus, Ukraine's president says a one-on-one meeting with President Trump is imminent when we're hearing that meeting could take place. And in California, a mudslide swallows homes and cars as a days-long storm system continues to pummel the southern part of the state with heavy rain, and a forecast of even more is on the way for later today, when the area may anticipate some relief. And a different storm system could make returning home from that Christmas trip much harder for the millions who chose to get away for the holiday. We're live covering that start of what will likely be days of record-breaking travel. But first, developing this morning, the U.S. launching deadly Christmas Day strikes on ISIS targets in Africa. New video from the War Department showing those missiles headed toward Nigeria. Military officials confirming with NewsNation multiple members of ISIS were killed. And President Trump warns more attacks could come in the near future. NewsNation's Hannah Brandt has the latest from the White House. Hannah, good morning.
Nick, good morning. President Trump announced those strikes on his social account, saying he ordered them on the ISIS terrorists because they've been targeting and killing Christians. The U.S. War Department also released new video last night of what looks like those missiles being launched towards Nigeria. In a statement, U.S. African Command did say the attack killed multiple members of ISIS. Now, the targeting of Christians in the country is something we've heard President Trump talk about in recent weeks. He's now suggesting more strikes could happen soon, saying in his post, quote, "Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists, of which there will be many more if their slaughter of Christians continues." These strikes happened just days after hundreds of children who were abducted from a Catholic school in Nigeria were released and then reunited with their families. 130 students and 12 teachers overall set free on Wednesday after more than a month in captivity. These students, most of whom were between the ages of 10 and 17, were kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic School just before Thanksgiving. Now, a U.S. War Department official does say the U.S. worked with the government of Nigeria to carry out the Christmas strikes, but U.S. officials did not share exactly how many people were killed in the strikes or any more information about the exact logistics of this military action. Nick?
Had a question for you, though. The president and his team say that they remained focused on Ukraine and ending that war. There were new developments overnight.
That's right. Today, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's agreed to meet with President Trump in the near future in the next couple of days. Zelensky adding a lot could be decided before the new year. This comes after Zelensky said he had a good conversation on Christmas with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. We know they've been leading that peace negotiation process from the U.S. side. But even as the U.S. tries to broker this peace, the fighting between Russia and Ukraine is continuing. Take a look at those pictures there. Ukraine's foreign minister says they show the results of Russian bombing on Christmas night that killed and injured Ukrainians in Odessa, Kharkiv, and Chernihiv. And Ukraine launched British Storm Shadow missiles and drones at several Russian oil and gas facilities. Back here at home, a bipartisan group of senators did condemn Russia's deadly strikes in a statement, calling Putin a ruthless murderer who they say has no interest in peace and cannot be trusted. Nick?
Hannah Brandt with the latest from the White House. Hannah, thank you so much. Right now, we're joined by Republican strategist Katie Frost and Democratic strategist and former chief counsel for the House Judiciary Committee, Julian Epstein. Katie and Julian, thank you so much for joining me. Katie, I want to start with you, though. We are now past the Christmas deadline with President Trump wanting to have a peace deal by yesterday. What happened, and why is there still no deal?
Well, it's great to be with you this morning, Nick. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I mean, look at it. Have we ever seen anything happen on the international stage on the timetable we want? I don't think anyone is surprised that this is going to be a long and difficult process and that this will take longer than initially hoped for. But ultimately, I know that if anyone can bring people to the table and force some kind of deal to happen, it would definitely be President Trump. He has settled a lot of different things over the past year we've seen around the world. He's been able to bring the different parties together and cool down the temperature in these different conflicts. And I'm confident that he will be able to help that happen between Russia and Ukraine. But ultimately, any peace deal that happens, there's not going to be anything that will make everyone happy. And that's something we need to remember going into this.
Not make everyone happy, Julian. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's open to potentially withdrawing his troops from the country's eastern industrial heartland if Moscow agrees to do the same. He proposed making the area a demilitarized zone that would be monitored by international forces. Do you think that is a needed step to ensure that Putin does not cross the line?
Well, good morning, Nick, and thanks for having us. I think that has been on the table actually for a fair amount of time, although the actual demarcation of the lines is a little bit different than it was a week ago. Mm-hmm. But look, I think there is a setting for a potential peace deal, but I think the West, with all due respect to what Katie was saying, has been a little bit naive on this. I think Joe Biden was very naive. I think he did not get the kind of offensive weapons that he needed to Ukraine when in 2022 and 23. And I think Donald Trump has been a little bit naive about his persuasive abilities with Vladimir Putin, thinking he could sort of romance him and bring him to the table, when in fact, what he needed to be doing and what Western Europe needed to be doing was getting Putin all the offensive weapons that they needed, because the one thing that Vladimir Putin understands is strength. And the only way you're going to deter Vladimir Putin from seeking what he really wants, which is the overthrow of Ukraine and the capturing of much more territory, is through a strong deterrence. And the West, I think, has failed that question up until now. I think Trump is coming around on that. I'm glad to see he's coming around on that. But to this point, I think the West has diddled, and we should learn the lesson of Ronald Reagan, which is peace through strength. And the West has been sort of, of two minds on that.
And just to challenge that idea of peace through strength, Julian, I want to pivot here and ask you and Katie both about the news breaking overnight. President Trump posting on Truth Social saying that the U.S. carried out a deadly strike against ISIS in Nigeria, who he says were targeting Christians. This rhetoric of Christians being persecuted in Nigeria has been ongoing for months, but some critics say it's not actually happening. What are your thoughts on the strike and if it was necessary, Julian?
I think it was very necessary. God bless President Trump for doing this. We've known about these many genocides of Christians going on, not just in Nigeria, but throughout the Sahel region. I think there have been as many as 12,000 killed this year and many more in previous years. And I think, again, the West has not taken seriously enough the threat of Islamic extremism. It's happening in Africa. It's happening through the Sahel region in Africa. It happened in Australia. It's happening throughout Europe. And this is something that I think the West has been sort of very confused about and has not spoken with the kind of moral clarity and the type of peace through strength, as we were just talking about, that it needs to. So I think what the president is doing is quite important. And the threat of Islamic extremism and sort of genocide against Christians in Nigeria is real.
And Katie, I'll give you the last word.
Well, Nick, I'm saying you have a moment of bipartisanship here this morning, because I completely agree with what Julian's been saying. This was an important strike that needed to happen. The tragic slaughter of Christians in Nigeria has been overlooked for a long time, and I'm glad to see President Trump step up and make this important decision. And Christmas Day strikes have a long history in the United States, going back to President Washington in 1776. So glad to see President Trump keeping up that tradition.
And making it clear why he was doing it. You know, Mr. Trump has made it clear that he wants to be a voice for all people. Katie, Julian, both, thank you so much for spending part of the holiday weekend with me.
Thanks, Nick. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
And same to you all and your families. Thank you so much. Turning now to a waterlogged California where several feet of mud has buried homes and cars under rocks and debris. It follows a deadly storm system that triggered mudslides and brought nearly a foot of rain to the region. An atmospheric river being blamed for at least 2 deaths. Thousands of people east of Los Angeles were forced to evacuate, and the wicked weather led to scary situations for residents.
We stopped and turned around because I believe that I saw a car just washed off into the river that's obviously overflown, and there's a light that, to me, it looked like there was somebody standing next to it.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency ahead of more rain expected in Southern California today and tomorrow. And across the country, more storms threaten to cause chaos for millions of Americans looking to head home after the holidays. Right now, you're looking live at San Francisco International Airport and the roads around Raleigh, North Carolina. Whether you're hitting the road or taking to the skies, you might have to brace for delays and traffic as travelers deal with weather en route to their destinations. NewsNation's Marcus Espinosa is live with the latest. Marcus, good morning.
Hey, Nick, good morning. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of brand new shiny suitcases here in the airport as the day after Christmas, those presents are finally unwrapped and folks are returning home. A lot of folks picking the day after Christmas to travel, but they're going to be running into that weather that you mentioned. Snow is expected in this area here in New York and then also in the Midwest. So it's going to be causing a lot of headaches. And no matter whether you're taking to the skies or the roads, expect delays and cancellations with flights. That wicked winter weather in the forecast in the Northeast and Midwest playing a major role here. Airlines issue travel warnings and offer travel waivers for today and tomorrow. Several airports had longer than normal TSA and airline check-in lines. Right now, it's less than 5 minutes at TSA here at Newark at Terminal A. But make sure to know your rights when it comes to traveling if you happen to suffer a delay or cancellation.
If your flight is severely delayed or canceled, you are entitled to a refund for the cost of the ticket. Airlines have agreed to sort of soft interpretation of what they owe you in the event of delays and cancellations. Usually they won't give you compensation, but sometimes they'll pay for a hotel room, some meals.
And Nick, they definitely won't give you any compensation if you don't ask, at least most likely. So make sure to reach out to those airlines and try to haggle something, whether it's a room for the night or a discounted fare. Reach out through the official channels, telephone number, etc. But also reach out through social media. That has been effective in the past. I have found that also effective when I travel. And then just real quick on dates here coming up this Sunday, that's going to be the busiest day in the remainder of 2025 for travel. And then January 4th, also going to be a busy day. And then after that, hopefully everybody is going to stay put for a while and keep the airlines and the roads a little less busy.
And Marcus, as a complete aside, I often remind people that we work as a team. Your live shots have looked fantastic. Shout out to your photographer.
Shout out to my boy Kyle here. He's also holding the monitor where I can see you and this little 2-box here. He's doing all kinds of stuff right now. Yeah, he's fantastic.
It's a team, and we all work with an amazing team here at NewsNation. Marcus, thank you so much. Now to more headlines we're following closely this morning. North Korea is showing off its closest look yet at progress being made on the country's first nuclear-powered submarine. North Korean media said the vessel weighs 8,700 tons, and Kim Jong-un plans to put nuclear weapons on board. It's not clear how close North Korea is to actually finishing the construction of that submarine. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says a 15th person has died following that horrific UPS plane crash in Louisville in early November. According to the governor, the victim worked at one of the businesses struck by that plane when it crashed. The McDonnell Douglas MD-11 jet was taking off for Hawaii when it lost an engine and erupted into a fireball before hitting the ground. 14 people died in the crash itself, while 23 others were injured. The FAA has indefinitely grounded all MD-11 aircraft for inspection.
Christians, however, have no enemies, but brothers and sisters, who remain so even when they do not understand each other.
That, of course, is Pope Leo addressing crowds at St. Peter's Square for a Boxing Day prayer. The Holy Father saying that hope comes from those around the world choosing justice and peace, even at great cost, and that hope gives us reason to celebrate, quote, despite everything. Talk show host Jimmy Kimmel has a direct Christmas Day message for the Trump White House. What the late-night host said to an audience about the administration potentially restarting his fight with President Trump. Plus, a mother accused of killing her 9-year-old daughter set to make her first court appearance today. How authorities connected her to her daughter's death nearly 2 months after she was reported missing.